Hey folks, welcome back to their Dice Tower preview. I'm Mark, and today we're taking a look at Altenor Secrets. Altenor Secrets is brought to you by Power of Games. It's for 2 players, 1 versus 1, ages 8 and up, and games generally run 45 to 90 minutes. Altenor Secrets is a game of competitive clashes. Guilds of adventurers and champions compete in the depths of a tower, which is in perpetual motion. To win, you have to manage your guilds wisely. You play in circular sections within a level of the endless Tower of Altenor. You control a team whose purpose is to defeat the opposing player's team by bluffing, gaining access to key areas, and controlling magical artifacts to your advantage. Each ring is composed of 8 areas, representing grand halls with specific rules. The board center is occupied by a nexus, a node of power deep in the Tower of Altenor. Each player will pick a guild that fits your style and your strategy, selecting your abilities wisely. You will move your characters in turn, activating a character to bring it to life and perform regular and free actions. Each of your 6 characters has a specific role to play that comes with advantages and drawbacks. There are several ways to score points and 4 rounds for you to overtake your opponent. The player whose team scored the largest number of points at the end of the game wins. Your guild is relying on you. Now, one of the really neat things about this game is, like I said at the beginning, this tower is in perpetual motion. All the individual rings can be rotated and moved throughout the game. And to understand how that works, we need to look at the cast of characters. We have 6 different characters on either side, and you start with 4, and 2 of those characters are going to be doubled up throughout. So, first, we have the dial holder. The dial holder is key. They're the ones that can manipulate these different rings for offense or defense at times. So they're key to hold on to and use throughout. Now, also you have a fighter. Your fighter is going to give you bonuses, a +1 in battle. And then you have the runner. The runner is the swift mover. They're going to be moving quickly across the board, and they're really key to get you into position for different rooms and to get the different artifacts and so forth at the middle of the board. And then you have beginners. They're the pawns basically, and they have generic abilities. They don't really have anything special about them, but they are useful in positioning and so forth throughout the board. So you have 2 runners and 2 of these beginners, but you only start with 4 characters total, and your main 2 characters again are the fighter and the dial holder. So this game is full of battles, and how you handle that is you have a couple choices. You can choose to use dice, which is very straightforward, roll off and so forth. But the more strategic way to play is to use the battle cards. Now, you have 5 battle cards ranging from 2 to 6. You're going to be shuffling these up, and your opponent will draw one, removing it from the game, and you're left with 4. So you're going to be cycling through these cards, but you get to choose which numbers to put into play when you enter into battle. And then you'll be taking into account any abilities that you may have, like with the fighter will add a +1 to the card that you have drawn. So you, against your enemy, will play a card face down, and then you both flip them simultaneously, and whoever has the higher value wins. Now there's a couple of types of cards we should take a look at. First, we have the dial holders cards. These are the cards that are going to allow you to manipulate the different dials in the tower. And you'll play the card and then lose the card. Well, not really lose it, but temporarily lose it until you can get back to the middle of the tower, which will then replenish these. And I should say that there's a series of actions we'll briefly take a look at, but to play one of these dial cards, it is a free action in order to do so. And each of your clans has a whole set of ability cards. We're not going to go a deep dive into these, but you have things like you would expect as you go into battle, like stunning a character, or potentially, a sneak attack. All kinds of different abilities to really aid you in your attacks and how you handle battles through the game. So these cards are going to be very important as you progress and try to win the most points. Now let's jump in and take a closer look at the different rings and the different rooms in this tower. So just a quick look here. We have the entrance halls, and in the middle, then you have the nexus, and around the nexus are the treasures. You're trying to gather those to get points. And you'll notice there are black areas around the tower as well, and these are walled off, and they give you standees to show and illustrate that a little bit better, so you can't really move through those areas. But just for clarification and showing the board a little better, I've left them off. But those are some of the key things initially, but then you have some interesting rooms like the underwater room. When you move into that area, you collect an underwater token, which means essentially you have to spend an extra action to move through it because you're swimming. And there are trap rooms, as you'd expect in any kind of magical tower. Now, these trap rooms are going to do various things. As you move into them, you might step on a switch, which causes rings to rotate, or you might just take damage. So you're going to be rolling a dice to find out what happens every time you move into one of these halls. And then you have objective halls. Obviously, this is one of the ways you're going to be collecting points in each of the rounds and so forth. And then you have your base camp hall, which is your main area where you get different abilities and different things for your different clans. So those are the basics of all the different rooms that you can move through and manipulate. So on your turn, you get to perform up to 2 regular actions. There's a whole slew of free actions we'll take a quick look at, but regular actions are things you'd expect, like moving from one hall to the next, or staying put in a hall, or potentially running. Running, you have to be careful because if you run through like a trap room, then all the rotating rings could happen and you might run into a wall or something like that. But there's also this concept of impact or pushing a player. Well, you'll roll dice to determine how that effect works out, either pushing or pulling them or so forth. So it really is some interesting things that can happen with that as well. But this is all in an effort to manipulate everything on the board and you to get to certain areas, to get the treasures, to hold the different positions on the board, to get points and so forth. And a couple other regular actions. One big one is attacking. Yes, obviously you're going to be doing a lot of this in order to get points and knock your opponent off the board. Now, as you do knock your opponent, they can bring a new character back in, one of their extras, but you want to be careful about losing your dial holder and things like that. But the thing is that attacking works like what I said with the battle cards or dice, but hopefully battle cards is definitely the more interesting way to play the game for sure, revealing those and using your special abilities to augment those cards as well. But then also you can swap positions with a teammate. All right, so that's the basics of all the different types of regular actions, but you have some free ones as well. The 2 key free actions here are really for your dial holder. They can play one of those cards to manipulate the tower and move the dials, hopefully in an effort to help you out or hinder your opponent. So lots of different reasons to move the rings around, position yourself, and so forth. Now, the other free action related to that is when you're in the middle, replenishing your dial cards. All that is free actions. Also, any character, if they're in a treasure area, they can gather a treasure or drop a treasure for free. So those are the basics of all the different types of actions you can perform in your turn. But remember, your goal here is to eliminate your opponent. Well, eliminate and hold positions, gather treasures, all kinds of different things. We'll take a look at the points here in a minute. But how you manipulate this tower is really going to be the key in how you achieve certain goals throughout the game. So through the course of each of the rounds, you're going to be scoring points, keeping track of all this on the arena card. Now, the thing here is that at the beginning of the game, you had the ability to place a bet, a secret bet, on what you might get points for at the end of the game. Things like elimination for eliminating players, or maybe it's objective based. You're going to hold the objective more than the other player, things like that. But they're all icon based, very straightforward. Now, through the course of each of those rounds, you can hold on to treasure. And if you are holding treasure, you're going to get points for that. Or through the course of each of your turns and so forth, if you hold the objective spots simultaneously, you're going to get points for that. And in rounds 3 and 4, if you're holding the base camps, you're going to get points for that as well. All kinds of different ways to do this. And there are some abilities that are going to give you points as well. And the big one here is eliminating your opponent. You get tons of points for that. So all of it is kept track of through each of the rounds on this arena card. And whoever has the most points by the end of the 4th round wins the tournament. All right, folks, just a reminder once again, this has been a Dice Tower paid preview, and everything you've seen here has been in prototype form. So keep a close eye on the campaign for any changes that still may occur. Now, this was just a brief look at some of the aspects of this game. There's a lot of depth that you can go into, especially with the different abilities and so forth of the different factions. But what I really like, though, is this manipulation of the tower. That's where I feel like this game really shines, how you can really mess up your opponent or set yourself up for success. Lots of interesting choices, though, to be made throughout. All right, folks, so if this looks like something that would be of interest to you, I'm sure they'd appreciate your support. So I think that's it from me, and until next time, we'll see you at the table.